Okay, so you will not guess what happened. Basically, I guess this is so strange because the camera's on this side. Hold up. Now it's upside down. Basically what happened was I filmed an entire 30-minute get ready with me video where I talked about my reflections from college, and then it got deleted on my MacBook, which is why I still believe that Dells are better than MacBooks, because how does that even happen? Like, QuickTime just shows a blank video. So now I can't even do the get ready with me part because I already did. And I'm like a troll, but okay. For today's video, I thought, let me yap and waste time while I'm waiting for Brian to come back from work. So topic number 1, imposter syndrome. I feel like this is like the most like popular topic to talk about because like, I don't know, like college is full of very, very different people. And so you're kind of inclined to end up feeling like, oh, like maybe I don't fit in, like all these different things. And I think for me, when I started, I felt imposter syndrome in like an intellectual sense. That sounds so sad. I took linear my freshman fall, linear algebra, and honestly I had no reason why. I was just following one of my friends because, you know, back then, you know, you're stressed, so you want is, oh my god, I thought I saw a bug that was part of the chair. That's really scary. So I followed one of my friends and I took it, and I was really stressed because everyone was like, oh, grade inflation, like you're gonna be fine. But then I think the way that the grades are done is it's still like on a curved basis. So just because like if you're like me and you're not that good at math, or like you're like decent, and then you take it with people who have taken it before in high school, like how are you going to beat the curve? Like I don't know. Or like, yeah, not everyone took it, but I feel like a lot of people that were taking it were like pretty good at math and or knew they were going to be STEM. So I think for me as a non-STEM person at the time, that was really hard. And it was also 3 p-sets a week. That was the first time where I was like, like maybe my school wasn't good enough preparing me. And weirdly enough, I feel like I have a pretty strong mix of friends, but like more leaning towards private, which is not to say that all private schools are the same, nor can you easily say all public schools are the same, because they're not. But I think for me, I felt like there was a pretty big difference between like people I knew that were going into like CS or computer science and like had coding background, and then like people like me who were like kind of like did not know what they were doing. Not just because maybe I wasn't smart enough, but maybe just because I was behind in classes and I didn't really know what to do. Like I was like, oh, okay, like over winter break my freshman year, I remember this, I tried studying for one of the classes in advance for the first time in my entire life, and like did not get anywhere. Like that did not help. Like I don't even think I knew how to study properly, which maybe we can. So I had pretty bad imposter syndrome for a while, and that just made me like really existential. And at the same time, something that like really bothered me was like, because I felt like I was behind, I always had this belief that college is some sort of like great equalizer where, you know, all the opportunities, because anyone can apply and now you have the same degree, you have an equal shot. And I feel like whatever I experienced, like I just thought that was not the case at all. And in the sense that yes, like when a firm publishes job apps, anyone can apply. But like not everyone knows about it, and that information is very unequal. And that was something that like really bothered me, was I thought that I didn't know enough about like recruiting or going into like various fields because I didn't really know who to talk to. But I think I just overall like lacked the like network or like social awareness about some of these things, because I just felt like I couldn't like reach out to people older than me, or I didn't really know how to, and that made me like really anxious. So yeah, I think that was something that I found really sad, was that college is not the great equalizer, but at the same time, you yourself have so much opportunity to make the most out of it regardless. Second topic, selling out. Maybe it's because I sold out, so like obviously I'm like biased, but I've even heard from people I know like, oh, like, you know, I'm pursuing my passions and you're not, or I just can't imagine doing that. Like, why would you do that? These are things that I feel like are like pretty prominent and said very frequently to people who like sell out, which is a general stereotype that like, oh, like you chose not to do something better, or like you're not following your passions. So like I'm just gonna argue on both points. Like, first off, my biggest ache, maybe I shouldn't use slang in this, is that not everyone can sell out. Like, I don't know why this is a crazy idea to people. But I've talked so much to some of my high school friends who like are similar to me, and like we're not going to just do nonprofits right now. Like, that's great, and I like would honestly at some point love to work at a dog shelter because I love dogs, but like I don't have the means to do so. Like, I don't have a family's generation of savings that I can just live off and not make a lot of money. And then on top of that, I need to be prepared for if something happens health-wise to anyone in my family that are like dependent on my mom. And if my mom gets older, then I'm the one that needs to take care of her. And I also have a younger sibling. It's like, I don't know. I feel like I've been always arguing this like financial stability thing to people. And yet I feel like I've been faced with so much like ignorance about this. And it's like fine. Like I don't think anyone's like a bad person, but I feel like this misconception is so harmful to people who go down this path, because if someone really needs it, who are you to like get in the way? Like, sure, like if someone you think is doing something bad, like yes, like you can voice like a moral concern. But if you're like just making fun of someone for trying to make money because they need it, I don't really know why, why you should do that, or what gives you the right. And the second thing that I've heard a lot was like, you're not pursuing your passions, or your job sounds really boring. And like, I don't know. I was like, oh, I feel like you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes to understand like what makes their job sound interesting. Like, I'm not really gonna argue with someone and be like, my job is more interesting than yours, or doing the voice, well, actually. All right, anyways. I actually think it's really interesting. Like, it's really hard. But I feel like working in finance is also really interesting, stimulating, fast-paced, which is something that I need anyways, because I get so bored. Fast-paced, like, just every single day markets are changing. I also invest in stuff, and like understanding like why things are moving the way they are is something that I've been curious about before even knowing that this was a job, and just wanted to understand better. So yeah, is that boring to some people? Sure, maybe, but it's just interesting that like if you have a sellout job, it's more often considered like boring, but then if you're not, like people don't really attach those like labels to you. And also I think like when you come after someone for the hours, like some people choose to work more hours. Like I think even when I was in freshman year, I was doing like kind of like suite and research, so I was working like a full-time and a part-time job, and I just chose to do that. Like I'd rather work. Like I would be really bored. If I could make more money and work more hours, I would just choose to do that. Okay, third thing is kind of similar, which is insecurity. I feel like a lot of like what you do in high school is you're like, oh, like I need to be the best, like I need to go to college and like get into college based on being like somewhere in some form of rankings, whatever it is. And then you go to college, and I feel like I've met so many insecure people, and like that's totally fine. Like I feel like being insecure is so normal, because that kind of goes back to imposter syndrome. So like I was also insecure about like my background, my school, I don't know, like I don't really know what else. So like yeah, being insecure is normal. While it's great that ideally everyone's self-confident, like that's not the case. But the people, which have happened a lot, who use their insecurity and project onto you, this is not like Harvard specific by any means. I mean, I've met people, but like this happens everywhere. But please don't do that. Or you know what, get yourself out of those situations. There's some form of bragging about like, what classes are you taking? It's like, oh, like I'm taking this class. Someone's like, yeah, I took that like 2 years ago. And it's like, oh, so easy. Like, I don't know. It's like the bragging about like where you are relative to someone, and then just making someone feel worse about themselves for no reason. I feel like that's something that like I've just struggled with, like separating myself from people like that. I think that's really important. Like if you don't feel it yourself to be like happy for someone, at least try to fake it. Like whatever, you know, like I just think that a lot of times like achievements that people make can also make other people stressed, that like, oh, now you need to achieve something, but at the same time you still need to understand how to be happy for that person who achieved something. That's really important. Okay, then that's not college specific, but fourth thing, are we on four? Is that while you're at college, you should be grateful that you're there. Very simple, but I forgot a lot. And I'm someone who journals a lot, so I kept reminding myself, like, I'm here because my mom made a lot of sacrifices to help pay for school. Like, I worked really hard to like apply. My grandma used to help like drive me because we didn't have anyone else who could like drive me when I was young to like soccer and things like that. And so there were so many sacrifices that were made for me to get there. But once I got there, I was so busy worrying about like imposter syndrome and like getting a job that I like forgot so many of the like so much effort that it took to like help me get where I am. And I think that's something where I was like, wow, like I'm maybe just very ungrateful. But at the same time, I think it's also important to remember that like a lot of times these colleges were like your dream. And you get in and you're so happy, you know, you have the Instagram story post, everything, and then you go there and you get stressed. And I think like I just completely forgot that for me, like I really, really had wanted to go to Harvard. Still think I feel like a bit ungrateful after graduating for the amount that I was like tweaking out. Fifth thing is that time management also comes in the form of like friendship problems. And so I guess what I mean to say is like not everyone is meant to be your friend. And you might find this more so in college because at least for me in high school, people were pretty similar, or I think our like backgrounds were more similar because we were like, you know, living in a similar area. So like property values, etc. would be a little bit more similar. And then you go to college and you realize like, okay, like people are very, very different from you. And that's great. Like that's part of going to college. But at the same time, when you have time management and you have to prioritize school, clubs, social life, like your friends, relationships, sleep, exercise, you understand how people do their priorities. Like for me, it was like work, school, friends/relationship, then sleep. But I think understanding if someone prioritizes it differently than you and you wanted more out of them, that maybe it's just not meant to be. And like, I think there's this need to like force yourself, especially freshman year, like force yourself to be friends with anyone because like, you know, like obviously you need friends. I'm not saying you don't, but I think like to force yourself when things aren't working, it like doesn't work out well anyways. Like I feel like that's just like bound to cause problems. Like for example, like, if you're someone who's really free, like you'd probably clash with someone like me because I was like always busy and dying, and so like I couldn't give someone the amount of time that they'd want, and I don't think that's fair to them. I really don't want to do anymore because I had so many things that I wanted to do, and so that just means like you don't need to be like best friends. I'm not saying like you should fight, but like you don't need to be that close. And I think that's something I realized was like, wow, like people prioritize things so differently. Also learning that like it's not like one person's fault, it's like a mutual, like, you know, things don't really align. It's like part of it. At the same time, I think something that I've discovered with this is that I feel like, myself included, a lot of people that go to these schools are a little bit more inclined to be self-centered, which like kind of makes sense, right? Because you need to learn how to put yourself first to get into like these schools because there's so much pressure to like do everything and like be good at everything. And so yeah, I think I was really frustrated by that, and I think that comes kind of in line with like priorities, where like, do you put yourself first? Fifth thing is, I would say mental health. So I mean, every school has some form of like mental health, like help services, or yeah, like we had like a mental health awareness thing. First off, like if you wanted to schedule an appointment, it would be like a month later, and usually it would say like people's mental health concerns are pretty urgent, so like that's just not a good process. And you know, the healthcare system's so complicated, like it's expensive to find your own like therapist or get help. So yeah, that process was like not great. But I would say on top of that, like I feel like generally there's just a lot of stigma, especially like amongst adults or like older generations, that like, you know, you just should just suck it up and like push through, like mental health is like not a thing and things like that. I feel like I've heard, and it's just crazy because like I feel like at so many intense schools, like you're working yourself so hard that like your like mental state is so important and so important to take care of, and feeling like it's invalidated because you're not supposed to show weakness, or you know, the support like wasn't great, was kind of like disappointing. So I feel like that's another area where it could be better. Is like, I do think that a lot of kids, like high achieving kids, especially if you might have been like helicopter parented, need some form of like mental health help. And if the school doesn't provide it very helpfully, then that's kind of like a missed opportunity to like help some of the students a lot. So yeah, that's my short rant on that. My last point would just be to like truly make the most out of your experience. Like, it's 4 years and you should meet everyone, like make friends, of course, but like also take the most out of your like academic experience, because for some people like me, like you might not go back to school, and so you know, this is your last opportunity to be in a school and be in a school setting and have like professors that you can talk to. And I really enjoyed, like, I got dinner with one of my professors, and then I had like a bagel coffee date with like one of like the PhD students that taught his class, and she was so nice and gave me a lot of insights into like that program. And then I also did research for almost like 1.5 to 2 years during school. I guess if you don't count the thesis, maybe 1 year, but almost like a year during school, and also taught a lot of classes. And so I feel like I really got to try a lot. And I think that's something that, you know, you don't get as easily. Like, it's so much easier to ask people questions and ask for help when you're surrounded by people. But then like when you go to work, like it's a bit more separated and you don't get to meet as many like new people. And so just making the most out of that is so important. Okay, I feel like most of this is just rant, so I would just say like, of course, like I had a great time. Things like thankfully like worked out for me in the end, and I met amazing people who are probably my subscribers anyways, so thank you. I met amazing people. I'm like really lucky. I had some like really great professors, and I feel like I truly did learn a lot and also reflect a lot, which is actually, you know, another point. You should journal. I love journaling. It's like so good for you. You like think a lot. But yeah, like really grateful, and I think anyone's college experience can be like that, should you just try to make the most out of your opportunities. I think that's like by far the most important thing. So with that, best of luck with the rest of your college experience. If you're applying, good luck. And if you graduated, like me, good luck with full-time. Yay! Thanks for watching, and yeah, go watch my Chicago vlog, because I'm filming this in Chicago because I'm really bored right now because Brian's at work. So, goodbye!